Hello, world singers. My name is Brooke.
And I'm Tyler.
And this is
Cosmere Conversations. Hello to everybody. This is it. We have reached the culmination of our Wind and Truth previews. Now it's time, or nearly time, for Wind and Truth. This is our very last episode before the release of Wind and Truth on December 5th, which is coinciding with Dragonsteel Nexus. And Brooke, tell them some fun facts about who they can find at Nexus.
Us.
Yeah, that's right. We will be on 2 different panels, and we'll talk more about that at the end. But we just want to say thank you so much for listening. We know that there have been new people and returning people coming back to these episodes in the lead up to Wind and Truth. And a special thanks to all the patrons. Going to close out November with a little raffle over there, and very exciting behind the scenes stuff from Dragonsteel will eventually be released for the patrons. But Brooke, this is it. Our moment to either rise up as true Cosmere geniuses or be ridiculed forever for our shame. This is when we make bold predictions.
I don't think there needs to be any ridicule, but we did this for the Lost Metal. We talked a little bit about our predictions for the book, and I just thought it was fun. It added an extra fun element to reading the book to go oh yeah, I totally got that right. Here's proof. Or oh my God, I was completely wrong. That didn't happen at all.
Yeah. For me, more often, completely didn't happen at all, but I like it as well. I like to put out these ideas. It's a little bit of a summary of everything that we've been talking about the last couple of episodes. And I think, as you said, it's just a little bit of fun to kind of set the stage. So do you want to just go back and forth with our predictions for Wind and Truth?
Yeah, I kind of thought about this in terms of characters. I tried to think about all of our main characters and sort of predict what I thought was going to happen with each character's arc in this final book of the first half of the Stormlight archive.
Yeah, we've been kind of tracking the chronological history of Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar. Each got their own episodes.
Yeah.
And so is that the 3 that you're going to be kind of focusing on or looking to wrap up their character arcs with these predictions?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I would say basically the
extras?
characters, that we covered throughout our recap series are the ones that I mainly thought of since they're the main ones. So if that kind of structure works for you, we can start with Shallan, and then I can say what my predictions are. You can say what your predictions are.
Yeah, that's great. Let's begin with Shallan. And what's your kind of first prediction for her?
I think that Shallan is going to incorporate Radiant.
In a similar fashion that we saw Veil be incorporated in Rhythm of War.
Yes.
Okay. Anything that was jumping out at you in the text or on your rereads that made that kind of seem like it was definitely going to happen?
Not necessarily. I just think that as one of our main point of view characters in this first half, at least some sort of substantive aspects of these characters' arcs, I think needs to be resolved in Wind and Truth in order to give us kind of a satisfying season finale. I think that there can certainly be some extra sort of dangling questions that will bring us into the second half, but it just makes sense to me from a storytelling perspective to have the really meaty parts kind of wrapped up. So that's my justification.
I love it. I think that that's well thought out and a great place to start. So I did have a Shallan prediction, though I didn't necessarily organize my predictions by character, but I do have one for Shallan specifically. Okay. So here it is. I think that Shallan is going to learn enough about Ba Edo Mishram and their imprisonment to understand how something fundamental about capturing Spren, or understanding Spren, to the point that she will be able to theoretically leave Rashar with Pattern and Testament. I don't think that she will leave, just to be clear.
Okay.
I think that she will get all of the necessary bits of information and put together the concept, because she knows that there's Offworlders. She knows the Ghostbloods are at least connected to Offworlders. And I think she knows that Thydakar is not of Rashar.
Yeah.
And so I think that she will basically get enough information to know, hey, I could now trap, but not in a bad way. I could put a little double spren into this gemstone suitcase and we can travel the Cosmere together. I think she could go with both Pattern and Testament.
But you don't think she's going to do that?
If anything, it would be like her moment at the very end in a last send off, or like, I think I'm going to go boldly where no person has gone before.
Yeah.
And just takes off one final leap into a perpendicularity or something like that into Shadesmar. But that's my Shallan based prediction.
Great.
Do you have another one?
Yeah, I think kind of related to incorporating Radiant, I think that Shallan's past is going to be fully revealed, that these sort of remaining shadows in her memory and her story are going to have light shed upon them, which will then facilitate that incorporation of Radiant and, again, kind of wrap up that story for Shallan.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you want to shift over now to some of your Kaladin predictions?
Sure. I think that Kaladin is going to say his fifth ideal. I don't know what that's going to be. Apparently, there's a theory about it that someone is going to be presenting on the Stormlight Archive recap and theorizing panel that I'm on. I'm unfamiliar with the theory, so I'm going to learn about it at the panel with everyone else. And I don't really have any ideas about what it will be, but I think he's going to say it.
That is really interesting. And of course, I will be there. And am very excited to have any Kaladin-based theories, because it means that Kaladin is still alive. And that is not necessarily a strong prediction or anything that I'm saying is definitely going to happen, but it's what I want to happen. I want Kaladin not to have a sacrificial story that ends in Wind and Truth. I'm hoping that there will be some version of Kaladin survives and makes it to the back half, and I know there's lots of speculation about what all of this could mean, so very excited to hear that theory. Jumping over to my written down predictions, because now that we're talking, of course, I'm coming up with things on the fly, but we're going to keep it to what I wrote, and I don't have one for Kaladin specifically, mainly because I keep reminding myself that there's only 10 days for all of these characters.
Yeah.
And Kaladin was kind of at a place at the end of Rhythm of War where he was comfortable with the fact that this was going to take a lot of time, that he was going to have to devote a lot of resources into himself and into others, the people who he's helping from post-traumatic stress disorder. All of that was not an instantaneous fix. And clearly he doesn't have a lot of time before the contest begins. And so I want to give him that time. I want him to have that time and to not go out as like the champion at the end. We don't think he's going to be the champion anyways, but I can't get too sidetracked. I need to stay on point. Here is maybe something that will keep Kaladin around, keep him centered, keep him anchored.
Okay.
There's a little bit of an out there prediction, and I'm not going to take hours upon hours to explain why I think this. However, I'm going to use these phrases of anchors or entanglements that these characters have to things, to other people, and through capital C connection are going to somehow be demonstrated to be beneficial, helpful for cognitive shadows, and perhaps the heralds, the fuse, like all of these beings, as Vasher calls them, as the type 2 invested entities, and maybe even the type 1, are benefited by their capital C connection and their entanglements. So the most basic example that we know is true and accurate is that Radiant Spren get more sentience as they are bonded with a person for a longer period of time. It seems to be a mutually beneficial relationship. And I'm saying that that is coming because of these entanglements, or like Scylla's being anchored by Kaladin in a way to the physical realm. Kaladin meanwhile, is also being anchored to like another cognitive entity, which helps him stay out of his own detrimental cognitive spirals, we'll say, and his depression. That's like benefited by being with Syl.
So are you using entanglement as a
general umbrella term, maybe, for like anything that is capital C connecting people?
So we could just say the capital C connection is what you're talking about.
Mainly, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like capital C connection is the most important thing for these cognitive shadows, and it might be helpful as well for the people that they are connected to. But I don't always think that it's going to be people. I think that entanglements can also be to physical things like the honor blades, or even places that people are and or connected to.
Yeah, I think we've seen that capital C connection exists to planets and objects and other things as well. Like, I don't know that we need a separate word for those things, but yes, I think that those connections certainly play a role in the capabilities and the pure existence of basically anyone, whether they be a cognitive shadow or an alive human like Kaladin.
Exactly. And I just think that we'll get a better demonstration of how beneficial these connections are in Wind and Truth.
Cool. My question here is, we know that the titles of the books in the Stormlight Archive are all titles of books in world as well. So who do you think might be the author of the in-world book Wind and Truth? Because I think maybe Kaladin?
Oh,
maybe Kaladin and Szeth together?
You want them to co-write it like Rabaniel and Navani?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
that'd be so cute.
Kaladin is Wind and Szeth is Truth.
Oh, that's great. And neither one of them currently write? Or no?
Yeah, has any knowledge of like reading or writing whatsoever.
I think Szeth might be able to write.
Szeth might, yeah.
But yeah, that is hilarious. Okay, so it could be Szeth, maybe, and Kaladin is the undertext, the in glyphs or something.
I don't know.
That's great. I do like the concept of they are Wind and Truth. The things that they value are Wind for Kaladin, Truth for Szeth. That's not bad. And I have no real guess at who the author is. I always kind of get this wrong. I always jump and make mistakes for who the in-world authors are in this case. So I don't necessarily know, but maybe Yasna would make sense as like documenting everything that happened, and she is a Veristitilian, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Someone who seeks truth. And so perhaps...
Well, specifically in history.
Yes, in history. But like if this was a history written after the events of the 10 days, then she might call it Wind and Truth. She, yes, being driven by... But if it could also kind of be about Kaladin and Szeth, that would be a thing that I feel historians sometimes do. They pick, quote unquote, like main characters to follow and understand. So maybe that's a way of telling a story about the history, which, yeah, I don't know if Yasna would do. I don't know if she would be down to. She's got to be a queen.
I mean, she seems busy, you know?
I don't know if she has time to write another book. However, that may be my guess. Someone is writing about the events.
Or I guess some of the books that we've seen obviously are historical texts, like Words of Radiance.
Right.
So maybe they discover
Wind and Truth.
A book, called Wind and Truth.
That would be, I think, the opposite of where we are going, because that's kind of like where we started, Way of Kings, the most historical, Words of Radiance. But then we had like a transition with Oathbringer to character written books. Maybe he goes back, but it was kind of like Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, and then Wind and Truth, written by some of our characters in world, because they are writing the history now. They are the important people that everybody's going to be reading about and reading from. Yeah.
But they also still need a lot of historical information.
They definitely need a lot of that.
I think it could be either one.
Yeah, I agree. And perhaps some of that knowledge, that historical knowledge, doesn't come from a book, but might come from the spiritual realm, because the little summary that we got about Wind and Truth, I guess this is like a little bit more than the spoiler, but we've already talked and done an episode about this, but it mentions that Dalinar and Navani are going to go to the spiritual realm to like learn and gain information.
Yeah, I mean, I think it says they're just like investigating the spiritual realm or something. It's unclear if they're actually going there. That's like one of my biggest questions. Like, can you even go to
a place,
the spiritual realm like without being either dead or a shard? I don't know.
Or is it a place at all? Like the
right.
cognitive realm, Shadesmar, seems to be a place that you can go to.
Right.
And we don't know if the spiritual realm is, but they're going to be investigating. So let's just use that phrase. They're going to be investigating the spiritual realm. I think, this is my prediction, Dalinar and Navani will get more time to experience things than the 10 days that everybody is physically going through. They are going to have sense. They're going to step into a place, in heavy quotes, and step out of space and time.
Right.
And they will then gain more abilities than we would otherwise expect in the 10 days that are actually allotted.
Well, yeah, kind of playing off what happens at the end of Rhythm of War, where Kaladin is able to be like pulled out of time.
Yes.
And, you know, experience a connection to the spiritual realm.
In what is
I
actually...
could see that being expanded in Wind and Truth to give them more time.
That's what I think. Is that they will, quote unquote, go to the spiritual realm, whatever that entails. I'm not going to make predictions on, but they will do that. And one day will go by when they come back. But for them, it will have been enough time to kind of level up in a big, important way. That's my prediction.
I like that. I do think that Navani is going to learn a lot more about Fabrials and capturing Spren in gemstones through working with the sibling. And that information is going to tell us something important about the heralds and therefore other cognitive shadows also. So I think this is kind of similar to what you were saying about Shallan. I just think like maybe it's a collaboration between Shallan and Navani, kind of putting their heads together with the information that they have. Because I think those two characters both have some pieces of this puzzle. Shallan maybe has more of the philosophical information, and Navani has more practical experience as a artifabrian and an engineer to kind of make that information manifest in the world.
Exactly.
That would actually be pretty cute.
It would be adorable.
Like them working together.
And especially because early on there was that resent that Navani had to Shallan and that distance that existed between them, and would certainly love for them to collaborate on something really important, bringing the artistry from Shallan to the mother of machines and her mechanical knowledge, and being able to apply that in the real world.
And it's been a long time since Shallan's gotten to interact with other women.
She has. She's been on this journey of brodom. Just always hanging out with the bros.
It's a real Bechdel test problem. She has, you know, the first book, really just the first book, that she talks to Yasna about academic things and philosophy, and there's a relationship there. But basically since then, she's pretty much just hanging out with the guys. So it would be nice to see her have a deeper relationship with another woman.
Yeah, unfortunately we can't count Vale and Radiant as a deep relationship.
Yes, I don't count that.
If that did pass the Bechdel test, though, she would be flying colors, just like A++. Like, oh yeah, every single scene is with obviously, we are talking about external relationship, and you're right. And it would be nice to, I think, have characters that have been separated come back together. I don't know how that's possible because we leave them all still very geographically far apart. Mm-hmm. And that's probably going to be important. I want to jump over to another prediction, and this is, I'm going to leave simple, but the ramifications are obviously huge. I think that the contest of champions will be considered a loss.
Yes, I agree.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
I am not certain that the terms are going to stay the same, or that actions might not influence like how we understand the terms. Because Dalinar leaves off and he's kind of worried about how much room he gave for the 10 days. Like anything can technically happen in the 10 days. I don't know what those things are going to be, and I'm not going to try to predict the actual events. But I think when we eventually get to the very end of the book, the contest is a loss. And that's maybe bad for Dalinar and certainly setting up danger for the rest of the Cosmere.
Yeah, I think that Dalinar in some way is going to be removed from the main action of Stormlight Archive by the end of Wind and Truth. Either he dies, or he becomes Odium's champion, or he like ascends to become Honor.
Yeah.
Like in some way he's sort of taken out of the main events, I think, for the back half. Kind of similar to how Sazed takes up the shards, and then he's still there as a character, but you know, we're not following him and like seeing him all the time. That's my prediction for Dalinar. In some way, he's going to go away.
Okay, I like it. And leaving your options open as well. He could die or become Honor or become Odium's champion.
Yeah.
It's just like anything could happen. But I probably would agree with you that he is likely going to step back as a main character. I'm going to try to get one that's an easy win. And
okay.
I'm just trying to throw the dart, kind of score some points. I don't need a bullseye on this one. I just want to say that I think because of the Sunlit Man, we know Sigzil eventually loses his honor sprint.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen in Wind and Truth. I think the fighting that learned by Rabaniel how to kill Spren, that's going to impact some of our known characters in the Wind Runners or other Radiants. And I think Sigzil makes sense as someone who we now get to, unfortunately, watch lose their Spren. And then we know eventually he will bond another, and then there will be trauma with that one, and he'll eventually get to the Sunlit Man. So that's my prediction. It happens in Wind and Truth.
That's a bold prediction.
I feel like it's straightforward, but yeah, it's completely going out on the limb. I'm just trying to connect where we know he ends up to where he is now.
Yeah.
And I see the mechanism because Rabaniel made or wanted to make anti-Stormlight.
For sure. I like that there would be some meaningful follow through on that discovery, that it would kind of, you know, come back and bite us in a way that is really impactful, which I think it would be if a character like Sigzil or, you know, another part of Bridge 4, maybe it happens to multiple characters, end up losing their Spren through this new killing mechanism. I'm not totally convinced that it will happen in this book, but I hear what you're saying and I respect it.
Yeah, and because of the time jump we think that exists to the Sunlit Man, it doesn't need to happen in this book. It can happen 10 years from now or 20 years from now and still fit within the Sunlit Man. So yeah, it's a bold prediction in that way, but it's also, it'll either happen or it doesn't, and I will mark it or I will hang my head in shame. Why don't you tell me about another one of the second level characters that we mentioned?
Yeah, good boy Adolin.
Yes, tell me about him.
I think that he is going to find a way to help the Deadeyes and to maybe not fully revive them back to their previous state, but that he'll be able to find kind of an in-between, maybe, that similar to where we leave Maya at the end of Rhythm of War, where she's still a Deadeye, but she's regained a lot of cognizance and her ability to speak and make decisions and things like that, that he'll sort of find the mechanism or the process that will bring that to all of the Deadeyes.
I love that, and I think the development of maybe Maya as a character, or at least their bond as a character, goes along with what I was talking about in terms of entanglement or that capital C connection and the importance. They have capital C connection, and if there is a way to restore, like Adolin kind of gives a little bit of his energy to Maya to help her speak for the first time. If something like that continues, it's maybe like there is a line of connection between them, and with the right bond, you can strum that line like a guitar string, and you can just like create a stronger and more potent thing through sound that would all go together so well with what we've learned so far about light and sound.
I mean, it seems like this is also going to be sort of resolved through Ba'eda Mishram and what's discovered there. So I like that Adolin might be involved in that way with Shallan's scholarly pursuits.
Yes. Again, it's bringing it to the real world.
Yes, yeah, that he'll have some important insights or information to contribute to that. Because one of the things I think about a lot, this kind of gets into more of theorizing, not necessarily predictions, but I think a lot about Shallan's potential to become a inter-Cosmere traveler and scholar, kind of like how you were saying she might find a way to bring Pattern and Testament with her as she's traveling, etc., going to different planets. And then I stop and I'm like, wait, Shallan's married. Like, what is Adolin doing if she's just like traipsing off through the Cosmere with her spren? And I don't really have an answer for that. But this might be a way, if he's able to help her in this mission, that they can really work together as a team on this. It kind of bridges their differences in personality or interests a little bit. Then there's more of a path that I can see for the two of them remaining married, and also Shallan can be a Cosmere scholar.
Yeah, you can't get me started too much on the theorizing, or this podcast is going to take another 6 to 7 hours.
I know.
So let's instead focus just on the predictions rather than the theorizing. Psych, everyone, my prediction is a theory. It's the most important theory that I have been working on all of these episodes, starting really with The Unmade, that we talked so much in detail. And as I was rereading, seeing the presence of the Unmade, certainly this unknown aspect for a long time. There's so many theories about them. We've talked for hours about what they are and how do they relate and what's going on and why are there 9 of them instead of 10 and all of these different things. Here's my prediction. There is going to be a revelation about the connection between the heralds and the Unmade. We talked about this before. I think that conversation with Ahu, Yezrian, in Dalinar's flashback, when he says something along the lines of they, meaning Odium's forces, ripped out a piece of me and made it dance, and I was forced to watch. I think that's describing something meaningful that happened in the creation of the Unmade. That's my theory, but my prediction is we'll get the evidence to back up my theory, which is
I'm
just
gonna
really
laugh so hard when this is completely wrong.
You can all throw this right back at me. It is perfect. This is why you need to say your predictions, though, because this one is so crazy, and I've devoted like so much energy to just focusing down on what
really
Ahu said in one sentence or like 2 sentences.
That you've taken completely out of context and like ignored all the context.
It's not ignoring. We're not going to go into all of the things. It's 100% true. And I think that basically what happened is that the heralds being tortured, either a piece of them or something about their creation helped to create the Unmade. Odium was able to like take something out of them or learn something about their bond, whatever, and he used that to fight the Unmade. And so to them, it feels like this sick reality of fighting now dark reflections of themselves. And then over time, insanity, we all know this, but I think Herald's Unmade, there's going to be evidence of this important connection. That's my prediction.
Moving on.
But we'll be back. And it'll be to laugh at me or to laugh at how genius I am secretly.
Yeah, okay.
Hit me with some more lighthearted, some awesomeness, one would say.
My prediction, really going out on a limb here, is that Lift is going to do something awesome.
Literally just her base level power
Yep.
is going to be used at some point in Wind and Truth.
Lift will be awesome. I also think that Lift will have bonded the AVR that she saves in Rhythm of War.
Oh, that's really interesting because there are AVR that do not on First of the Sun, that do not give extra powers.
Well, I think if it's an AVR, by definition, it gives powers.
Okay, I'll say it another way. There are parrot-like birds on that planet that are not AVR.
Correct.
And
yes.
so I wasn't immediately assuming that AVR was, but it of course lines up. Why would you take an AVR?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I didn't necessarily assume because Lift didn't mention, but she's not bonded. That's the thing.
No, I think the thing that really hit it home for me is that, one, we know that the previous owner of this chicken is a world hopper.
Yes, a world hopper.
And two, the AVR seems more cognizant, more sentient, maybe than a regular bird, and seems to have a very close relationship with that man who was his owner in the way that she describes the bird's behavior.
Like mourning?
It like leads her to the man and then is behaving in a way that indicates some level of intelligence and relationship in a way that I think is beyond a regular chicken.
Okay. Do you think that bonding the AVR is the awesome thing, or do you think these are two separate predictions?
Two separate things.
Okay. So Lift is going to do something. You mean this in the sense of, like, we have talked about before, Lift is the game breaker.
Yeah.
She's going to have some important role that acts as a catalyst or somehow breaks the system.
I think there's going to be at least one moment, a like WTF moment that involves Lift, where it's like, whoa, what the heck?
Okay.
That breaks open her character and her story a little bit more and provides maybe a little bit of a cliffhanger or some intrigue specifically for her character and her role moving forward in the Stormlight archive.
I love it. And I love that Lift gets some focus, because I do think, yes, we are wrapping up some characters, but we're also setting others up.
Exactly.
So I'll end the prediction section, and then maybe we can talk some more theories with this. My prediction is that Windspren will create wind and Honorspren will create honor.
This is another one of your
from the very beginning, folks.
Way too deep theories that you just will not let go, that I still don't really understand, but it's okay. You don't need to explain.
We're not going to explain it. We're going to predict it. And this is the moment that the money gets put down, and whatever you're betting on is going. The little horses or dogs. I don't know what people gamble on.
No betting. You can't predict the future.
That's what we're doing right now. We're in violation. We would not be liked on Rashad.
The Vorons would hate us.
Very much so. But I think that we will see the truth that Windspren are able to create wind, Honorspren are able to create honor when they are bonded.
Are you saying that Honorspren are like literally going to reforge the Shard of Honor?
No.
Okay.
No.
Great. Okay.
That it's not that big.
Great.
I'm saying that this radiant bond that has been on display and is at the center of everything that we're experiencing in the Stormlight archive. That's the key element that allows for Windspren to do things that they otherwise would not be able to do. Regular Windspren are attracted to the wind.
Yeah.
And maybe, depending on how many of them there are, they can start creating the wind. But a bound Windspren, or a group of bound Windspren, and a bound Honorspren to a Radiant are able to do more than just be attracted to the thing.
I think that the bound Windspren, I don't think they do anything other than make armor.
I think they do a lot more than make armor. And that's what I'm saying and predicting, is that we will see there's a lot more that's going on for Kaladin specifically. Like, his secondary ability that is not as much focused on and talked about is being able to manipulate pressure, right? And to like create a force field bubble around him and others.
Is that adhesion?
Yes, adhesion defined in the Ars Arcanum as of pressure and vacuum. I think I was maybe confusing it with the
resonance
point between his two powers. But basically, yes, I think that example of pressure and vacuum, that's all that wind is. Wind is just the difference between two pressure points and then air moving between the two. And so if he can control pressure and vacuum, then he can create wind, but he doesn't do it alone. That's my whole, it's about the combination of the Spren and the Radiant that they are bonded to. Alone, they cannot do it. Together, they can. That's my prediction.
Okay.
I'm just trying to bring everybody together. That's what I'm doing.
Right. Okay.
Again, I'm giving you all opportunities to make fun of me in the future. That's what this is. Remember this, insult me later. On like day 24 hours after the book is released, people are just going to come out and just, nope,
you
wrong.
are wrong. Okay, I have a theory. This is not something that I am like predicting is going to happen. This is just kind of a crazy what if thought.
Okay.
What if Odium win? The Knights Radiant end up, serving Odium,
Oh, bummer.
and they have glowing red eyes
Because they're corrupted.
because they're corrupted.
Right.
And they're wearing their shard plate, and they become the men of red and gold from the lost metal.
Okay, I actually kind of like this. I might turn this into a prediction of mine. It's just crazy enough to work for me. No, this is good. This is good. Okay, so we see the Men of Red and Gold kind of coming out of the portal, right, in the Lost Metal.
They never come out.
But
They're
it's like you've seen.
in Shadesmar, like waiting to come in.
Yeah.
And they're described as having the glowing red eyes. They're described as being
Well,
kind
just
of
hit us with the quote. You got it.
Okay. Quote, in a place with a dark sky and misty ground, thousands of inhuman soldiers with golden skin and glowing red eyes, living statues. They carried rifles of an advanced design, and their stares seemed to bore holes in her mind. The men of red and gold had arrived, bearers of the final metal. Miles had called them destroyers, end quote. So hear me out.
Okay.
Again, this is not something I'm like predicting is
Right,
for sure going to happen. This is just a crazy what if.
I see. I've put all of my craziness into the predictions, being bold in my predictions, and then you segmented yours out so that they can just be theories. I see.
Yeah.
This is perfect. No, this is good. So you get to make the call of Lift is awesome. And then I am left with pushing the most crazy thing I can think of. However,
You made your choices.
we all made our choices and yours were better. I just want to be clear about that. Okay, so this is actually great because the line about living statues might be what you describe someone in Shardplate when you don't know what Shardplate is.
Exactly. That's like what I think needs to be explained, because I think in the past we took this very literally that they looked like living statues, and we speculated a lot about awakened metal, awakened statues similar to the army that is brought up in Warbreaker. But if we are on Scadrial, I don't think we've seen any type of plate of any kind. No like typical medieval knights on Scadrial. So these people wouldn't have any reference point for a human being wearing something like shard plate. And my theory is that to those people, they would look like living statues. They wouldn't have really any concept that there would be a living person inside of armor. Now, the other sort of thing that might throw this into the not possible category is that they are described as being golden. To my memory, shard plate appears as a more silvery metal. And we know that Racium, which my thought was...
Could be the final metal.
Yeah, could be the final metal. Could, like, maybe the shard plate starts appearing as Racium instead of Tanavastium because Odium has taken over.
Interesting.
But Racium is described as being white gold.
Okay.
Not yellow gold. So it does kind of throw a wrench in my theory, but...
No, I love this. I love that you have now just become me and have pushed this series of different quotes and thoughts into one thing.
Yeah.
And you're
and
theorizing.
the rifles of advanced design, we know that there are going to be shard guns in the future.
Yeah, we do see that.
So these could just be another example of shard guns, and that's why they look advanced.
Okay. My only pushback is I don't know what the timing is going to be for the difference between Events of Stormlight Archive 1 through 5 and The Lost Metal. But I definitely love the idea that something dark comes out of these events, something that makes people afraid of Rasharans. Because, again, the Sunlit Man, the Scadrian scientists at the end, they ask him about being a bonded warrior, clearly like referencing shard blades or maybe radiant, but definitely at least shard blades. And I think that everybody's afraid of Rasharans in the far that's era 4. So if something happens in era 2, or especially something even more in era 3, that like truly terrifies everyone on a generational scale, this could be it. I imagine Odium's forces showing up with Dalinar at their head and shard guns and shard plate would definitely leave generational trauma. So I think that is a good theory.
Theory, not prediction.
Okay.
You've already kind of thrown out some crazy theories. Do you have any other things that you're not predicting or definitely going to happen, but are just kind of thought experiments that are in your mind as we go into Wind and Truth?
Well, I do have two things that I didn't necessarily believed would happen in Wind and Truth, but might be set up. And one of them is I think that Kaladin's eventual position, this could be end of Stormlight 10 rather than 5, is in the role of either Herald by himself, or Honor, a reforged shard version of Honor. And functionally, I think there's a lot of different ways we could get here. But clearly, I think, as you said, Dalinar needs to kind of get out of the way because he seems to be Honor's number one replacement at the moment, being so bonded with the Stormfather. So I think that needs to not be in the picture for this to work out. But if Dalinar is out of the picture, Kaladin makes a lot of sense to step into that role as bonded to the Stormfather. Especially, you were all like...
You think he's going to leave Syl behind and be like, sorry, the Stormfather wants me, peace out?
No. I didn't say that. Because I think that you can be bonded to two Spren. That's what we learned from Shallan and will develop more, is that the Stormfather and Syl can be dual bonded.
Well, one, I think ascending to become Honor is different than bonding the Stormfather.
Okay,
I think those are two different things.
It will require the Stormfather, specifically that power that is still the remnant of Honor. I think the Stormfather needs to be involved. Maybe it's not bonded. That's where I'll leave it.
I don't know. I guess I'm curious to see how Kaladin develops in this next book. Not that he hasn't progressed at all in the last 4 books. I think he's progressed significantly, but there's an element of his storyline that is stagnant, I think, that he kind of is continually coming up against the same challenges. And I would really like to see him grow and develop in a new way to move on to other challenges. So again, I'm really looking forward to seeing him take on this new role of helping other people, protecting other people in a way outside of a war context, and how that changes him and lets him grow. I'm hoping that he will develop better interpersonal relationships, closer relationships, as he becomes a little bit more adult, I think. So like at the moment, with who I know Kaladin to be and the way that his story's gone so far, I would really think it would be bad for him to be a shard. I just don't think he's mature enough. It's kind of like in Mistborn, at first you're like rooting for Vin to do it. It's like, yeah, Vin, you're the main character. Take up the shard. And then as soon as Sazed does, it's like, oh, that makes way more sense. Yeah. Like, let's be honest, we didn't really want Vin to be the shard.
And that's why I'm being clear about this as a far off theory, not a Wind and Truth prediction.
Right.
Because I think that he does need time. And if he is given that time, then maybe in Stormlight 10, it is his final send-off type of thing. That's more of what I'm looking at his far future as a possible far future. Again, what I don't want to happen is that he's like the sacrificial hero.
Yes.
And this is a different but still very high. I also don't imagine him ever being a world hopper. I think he is Rasharan and is going to stay and protect in whatever way. Sure. In the past, that would have been done by the heralds like Taln. Maybe they can reforge something with Honor to give Kaladin a place, but I don't even know if it's like, I would say it's fully going to be reforged. This is just my hopes. I want good things in the far future for Kaladin. That's all.
Yeah, 100%.
Previously, you had mentioned Shallan, Cosmere, World Hopper, and Scholar. Do you want to expand on that anymore?
No. I mean, that's my theory that will eventually happen. I think maybe my dream would be that she meets some of our other characters like Milan or Chris or Marasi or something.
Okay, like, so you just want to create Ocean's 8, but in the
Yes.
Cosmere.
Always.
And just have a bunch of ladies
Yes.
just walking through Silverlight.
Kicking butt, taking names.
Perfect. I'm very much into it and want that to happen. So if you can change that from a theory to a demand to Brandon,
Yeah.
just go ahead and do that. Make that work out. All right, here is my last like real theory, and it's actually it's one of my oldest theories because it came about because Brandon did a reading at last year's Dragonsteel convention from the interludes in Wind and Truth. It involved the Eerie and seemingly their movement along the Long Trail.
Yes. Big news.
Yeah, it was big news last year, and then we've kind of forgotten about it.
I think it's still big news.
Of course. It's going to happen. We know that that's in the book. I don't know when that interlude is, but we see this moment of transition. I think that moment, not necessarily in Wind and Truth, but will eventually lead to bad things also getting off Rashar. Basically, like the Eerie demonstrate a mechanism to get off Rashar, and because everybody else, well, not everybody else, but because so many other forces are looking for ways to get off Rashar, they're going to see what the Eerie do, and then, I don't know, the Heralds...
Just like figure out how to go into Shadesmar?
Whatever it is that the Eerie do, I think they're going to do it in a way that allows Odium's forces or allows bad actors from Rashar to get off planet with their investiture. That's kind of the key aspect.
Wait, I thought you were thinking that Shallan was going to find that solution, but now you think the Eerie are going to find that solution?
No, I don't think the Eerie are going to find the solution. It can be. Both of these things can still be true. Whatever the Eerie do, I don't think they know what they're doing. I think they get a signal and then they, walk through a portal or something like that. They're like, we've been waiting to go.
Yeah.
Shallan might look at that with her knowledge from Ba Edo Mishram and connect some pieces that allows for the discovery of how to move Spren off-world. That would still fit. I think the Eerie have a key part in how to get off Rashar for other characters in the future.
I mean, as far as we know, they don't bring investiture with them.
That is true. That's what, as far as we know. And I think that's the thing that we will eventually see and learn is that they do move off because a bunch of Eerie are assumingly bonded Radiants. Like they have Spren in Iriali. It's not as if they were just all abandoned and not chosen as a group of people. And I think those people are going to get off world when they go through the portal, and then everyone's going to be like, how'd you do that how'd you get your Radiant Spren off world? And the secret will be revealed because of what they did.
Okay.
This is the far out theory.
Yeah.
And why don't we leave with this? Because it's not so much a theory as a statement. I think cognitive shadows are bad. Bad. Not good.
Like bad for themselves. Like it's bad to be a cognitive shadow, or like they are a danger to the Cosmere.
Both of those things are true. I think bad.
Like just the existence of a cognitive shadow is a
bad.
Net negative for the entire Cosmere.
Yeah. Did you ever think of them as ghosts? Like kind of consider them like ghosts?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm now considering all of them like scary ghosts that are just like, oh, that's a negative. That's not like a Casper friendly ghost. It's just a bad haunting ghost. And I think all negative. This is not something that I want to expand on now because it's going to be a possible point of discussion that can get brought up at Dragonsteel Nexus. There are so many different panels. They're going to be looking at theorizing and speculating, and we are on some of those panels. So do you want to tell everyone kind of about the different panels that we're going to be on Dragonsteel Nexus from December 5th through December 7th?
Yes. Very exciting. On the very first day of the con in Scadrial, room 155, I will be on the Stormlight Archive recap and theorizing panel. That's at 11:30. It will be me along with Danny Mata, who is a video and content creator, as well as CJ from Cosmere Quandaries. And we're going to be giving you a recap of the Stormlight Archive, all the important things that we need to remember. We've done a recap on this podcast over many weeks, and it has been many hours long, but this panel is going to be truly a speed run in maybe 30 minutes or less of the most important things. And then we're going to do some theorizing. We're going to talk about Chana Mama. We're going to talk about, that's another, I should have said this in my predictions. I think that that's going to happen in Wind and Truth. Chana Mama. I'm 100% in. It's going to happen. It's in Wind and Truth. That's my prediction. You can quote me on that.
Thank you. Last minute prediction just to add to the list so that we can check off or not. I love it. Go more. Tell me more.
We're going to talk about Kaladin's fifth ideal. I'm going to discover what this theory is that I haven't heard of. And you are welcome to join us. Come out and it'll be a good time.
Yeah. So that's 11:30 on Thursday. And then we are just going to be paneling it up all Friday, getting to see as much different stuff as we possibly can. So we'll be all over the convention on Friday. Saturday morning, 10 a.m., Cosmere 401, Advanced Cosmere Studies. This is where the true nerds are going to be. The tippy top crust of the Cosmere community is going to be hanging out bright and early, and we are going to go deep. We are not going to focus wide. We're going to focus intently on just a few narrow concepts and discussion points. I think cognitive shadows are going to come up a lot. So if that's in any way exciting, you can come and hear all about the panelists' different predictions and theories regarding those, as well as other invested entities.
Both of us are going to be on that panel, along with Joy Allen, who is a Dragonsteel employee, Seth from the Cosmere Academy, and Steve from the Raffo YouTube channel.
All of the information regarding the timing and the scheduling for these panels, as well as all other panels, is available. You can check it out on Dragonsteel, and there's, links to different events. We're not going to list everything out for you here, but start with Dragonsteel. That'll act as a nice little portal so that you can find all of the events, the scheduling, and the programming.
Yeah, if you're going to be there, definitely let us know. We would love to meet up, hang out, get to see you IRL. We'll probably be posting some things on our Instagram. So if you're not already following us on Instagram, follow us there. If you're not going to go to the con, no worries. You're still just as much of a fan as anyone else. Don't stress about it. And if you want to see a little bit of the con, then you can also follow us on Instagram. And we'll have probably a recap episode when we get back.
Yes. And for those of you that join up on our Patreon, there's going to be some behind the scenes, maybe some special interviews, people that we meet at the convention, and really just kind of first glimpses of what's going on. So join us over there if you want to live vicariously through us on the journey. It's been really great to have all of this build up. These Wind and Truth preview episodes have gotten me so hyped, and clearly deep in the deepest end.
Really, really off the deep end for
so
even
far.
for you.
Yeah.
It's been really intense.
Me and the thrill are just down at the bottom of Rashar's
Yeah.
Mariana Trench, and it is so lovely to have a friend there with me. But unfortunately, it's not Brooke. She
No,
is up on the shore,
it's not.
just like giving normal predictions,
Yeah.
and I love it.
I'm just like calling out to you, like, seems like you're a little far out there.
And
do you want to come back?
Sometimes I do want to come back, but I can't. I can't live that way any longer because I just have got a thrill for the crazy theories. So thank you so much for laughing at me, laughing along with us, and listening to all of these episodes. Very excited about Dragonsteel. So let us know if you're going to be there. And Brooke, can you take us away?
Until next time, life before death,
Strength before weakness.
journey before destination.